Huh? There we are. Hey, Instagram, it's me, T, from the Pattersons, taking the train to Tibet. Now, this is a Friday, which means it's like a week wrap-up, whatever have you. I'm going to, oh, by the way, this is one of these things that perhaps I don't really want to do this, but this is not one that you need to listen to. This is for the record, okay? I have to, every once in a while I got to do something for the record because things are happening, you know what I mean? So this is a Friday, is one of these things just for the record. In fact, I made some little notes, and just so you know, I'm going to be, the notes I have is Eddie, Bill, what's that? Sharp, what's that? Oh, Mayweather, spiritual, time and energy, ultimate liberation, how do it free us? Those are the things I wrote down. I don't actually look at notes and stuff like that. It just happens in my head and I start riffing like that. You know, it's just the way it is. It's like, a lot of people, don't worry about it. It's like a rip. I'm like in a rip. I don't want to get that either. In fact, for me to do this, let me put on my Shannon Sharp look. Well, close to it. Glasses. Gotta disguise myself. Wait a second. Look, here's. Let me start with this. Okay. Now let me frame it this way. Sorry. I'm gonna put this left me. I'm gonna go to the book. There's a thing I think I wrote in the beginning of the book. When I'm here in India, and so in India you have certain influences and stuff like that. Why am I going so slow? I know it's someplace here. You have certain influences, right? Oh, here it is. They have the thing called the 7 chakras, right? And then the first chakra down is your root chakra, down. It's your root chakra, down. And then you have the sacral area. And if you look at the body, well, the root chakra is like right above your pelvis. Pelvis? Yeah, your pelvis, whatever. The sacral chakra is like, if you look at it, it's like your sacrum. You know, your sacrum is like whatever. And then you have the solar plex, a little bit above that. Then you have the heart chakra. Then you have the throat chakra. You have the third eye and the crown. And through life, you're supposed to move through these things. Now, if you get stuck with something like, for instance, if you might get stuck on the root chakra and never grow up. You might get stuck on the sacral chakra and never go beyond that. I'm just putting that out there. But now that's one thing. Just put that in the back of your mind. It doesn't mean anything right now. May not mean it at all. Then I have this thing I call the Rosicrucian cycles. And I'll just do it first. So from zero to 9 is your physical development. It's the optimum time for your physical development, right? You know, you little like that, you know, something like that, right? From 9 to 18 is the optimum time for your mental development. You learn things better. From 18 to 27 is your optimal time for your sexual development. From 27 to 36 is the optimal time for your spiritual development. And then it repeats itself. So from 36 to 45 is the optimal time for your physical development again. And then 45 to 54 is the optimal time for your mental development again. Then 54 to 63 is the optimal time for your sexual development again. And then 63 to 72 is your spiritual, like that. And then it repeats all over again. What am I? I guess I'm in. Well, this is my third go round of physical time, like that. Now I think we'll get to Shannon Sharp, but I think he's like 54 or something like that. So let's say he's about to go into his second go round of sexual development. I'm sorry, not development. It's the optimal time for it's the energy, right? Now, Mr. Neely Fuller tells us all we have is time and energy. Now let me put on my glasses so I can look a little different. So Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. tells us that all we have in this life is time and energy. How you spend your time and your energy. And energy is whatever it is. Okay, let me go. Now, I first noticed some interesting things about Hollywood or that kind of lifestyle. It's not really Hollywood. It's that when you start having money, because Hollywood is just a convenient way for gossip and stuff like that. But in any field, like if you was an accountant, if you was a greatest plumber, whatever it is, you go through these certain things. If you had a lot of money, then you're going to spend your money on things. After a certain amount, you're going to spend it on whatever it is. Okay, let me just go back. Now, when Eddie Murphy made it at 21 years old, he was out in Hollywood at 21, 22, whenever he did 48 Hours or whatever the first movie was. He, he made it at 19, I should say. So he got his fame at 19. So when he got out to Hollywood, what happened was it's like, say for instance you're a kid and you see a pornographic magazine, right? And you say, oh, dang. Then all of a sudden you see this other pervert magazine where you have a hermaphrodite, where somebody has breasts and an organ. You go like, whoa, like that. Now, imagine you have enough money that if you go someplace and that magazine can become, it's your reality. If nothing else, because you have a young mind or whatever, you haven't gone through all. They say at 25 is when your brain sort of closes up. So whatever you learn through that, up to that first sexual, in the middle of that, near the end of that first optimum time for your sexual development. So the first three developments are most important. Then when you get to spiritual development, that's something else. It sort of takes you someplace else. But by that time, your brain, your physically, your skull is closed up. Okay, follow me on this. So Eddie Murphy said, oh, hermaphrodite. So he ends up, something happened with hermaphrodite or whatever it was, whatever it was back then. It was no big thing. It was back then, not a lot of people, that's when you had your first inclination. No shade, I'm sorry, let me go back. No shade on Eddie. It's just a natural, if you've been seeing it, all of a sudden the magazine is right in front of your face, you're going to say, oh, let me check that out. I got enough money to check that out. Yeah, I want, blah, blah, blah. So you do that. Now let me keep on going. Now, let me do Bill Cosby real quick because he was before Eddie Murphy. Now, Bill, it's like, I don't want to say he's a project kid because he had his mother and his father in the project, but but also he was, I want to say, achiever, trying to over whatever he was trying to do, right? So he ends up with a woman, Camille, that's like what we call a Jack and Jill thing, a boule kind of thing. But he's dark-skinned from the projects. I shouldn't say from projects. He's dark-skinned from for a lower caste. I'm not going to say a lower caste of the black experience, right? And in fact, from all indications, her parents didn't want him to be with her, or whatever it is. But he ends up making it because of the money, and she sticks with him. Good for her because she at least stuck with him the whole time through. Unlike Michelle Obama, who don't stick to her man. We won't get into that. Let me leave them alone. I keep on jumping on them. Okay. Now here's the thing with Bill. Bill did, and because him and his wife, they did all this good and whatever, and then the people come after him. They set him up, or whatever have you. But the problem is that he didn't set up himself. They set him up. He was doing all that other stuff. I'm not going to get into whatever. But his problem was the pound cake speech. The problem with the pound cake speech was not what he was saying. But it's what we call, a lot of times you get this money, you get this stuff, and you get what we call, now Eddie didn't do this, but Bill Cosby did. You get on what I call your high horse, So now he's going past and telling, but he's always had this trying to advise younger people to don't curse, don't do that, or go to school, which is normal. I mean, that's what you're supposed to be doing, I suppose, But when you go, and as after literally decades, and things have changed on the ground, things that changed in the projects, that you went with a project with a mother and father is different than going with a project with just one or the other, or just mother, whatever it is. So you're going back and you're going to tell them, pull up your pants, do this, do that, do that, do that. But you're on your high horse, and your horse moves past the project. Now remember, your horse moves past, your horse is pooping out stuff. So what people see, they hear what you're saying, but they see that you're not really with them. You're not with them. You're beyond them. Why are you talking to them? And all you're leaving is manure. Now, who you should be talking to, right? In fact, this is the problem. Who you should have been talking to when Miles Davis was beating up on Cicely Tyson, you all was in the same circles. You should have been beating up on Miles Davis. Okay, what I'm trying to say is that you have to. It's your generation that you deal with. You don't be talking to another generation and and have no understanding what they're going through, and then try to give them advice. You can give them advice, but you don't do it in such a forceful way that they must take your advice because you are elder. You've done this for them and you did this for them. It doesn't sit well, right? So his biggest mistake was not what he did. His biggest mistake was that he continued what he was doing and thinking that he could advise and whatever advice he sent, but he didn't know the modern reality. Okay, so let me leave him alone. Now we get to modern times. Before we get to modern times, one time I was hanging out with, I was going to say that word. Well, actually, we was hanging, we was hanging out, we was in his mobile, I don't say car, it's whatever, big thing, with James, James Small, and he was saying, there's people out there that will put things on you. When he said put, he didn't mean physical, he mean spiritual things on you. And my thing, I gotta listen to James, man, and I listen to James a lot. But one of the things in my head, I'm impervious to anything. Okay, come bring it on. I just have to deal with it, whatever happens. That's just I went off to just say that. So there are people out there, especially if you're famous and you're a thing, they'll put things out to you. Now, let me keep on going. Floyd Mayweather. Okay, let me get down to tax. Floyd Mayweather, now I live in South Africa, Southern Africa. I live in the Eastern Cape. Eastern Cape is known, that's where most talent comes from. Singing, dancing, boxing especially, it's a big boxing thing. Even our little deBrother thing, we have a little, there's boxing, it's like, that's where the boxers come from. That's right. Horses, there's a horse racing thing, all that. He was invited to South Africa. He went to Joburg. He was supposed to come to the Eastern Cape because that's the home of boxing. He's a boxer, right? And when somebody grand like that comes, they do all kinds of things for you. They make up garments. I mean, one time I was at Fort Hare and Jesse Jackson came through. He was giving a speech, something like that, and they made this beautiful gown for him. They were giving all kinds of presents. That's what you do. You're appreciative. Now Floyd Mayweather, they had all this stuff ready for Floyd Mayweather. He flies over like most people, goes from Joburg over to Cape Town, passes the Eastern Cape, and people were a little upset about that. I'm not saying, but I am saying, to have that kind of disrespect, even if nobody put anything on your head, you done did something that was like, how you'll say, out of pocket. You did something that wasn't right, that was unfair. Especially if you're a boxer, and this is the home of boxing for the southern region, for Southern Africa, and you're just going to diss, and they have prepared things for you, that means that something's going to happen to you, right? I'm just, now we move on. Shannon Sharp. Let's go to Shannon Sharp. No, I'm skipping over all these other people, all these other athletes. Here's the problem with Shannon Sharp. Well, first of all, he's stuck. I guess he's going through his second sexual thing, whatever. But here's the thing. If you, say for instance, remember I said the first sexual thing from 18 to 27? Okay, say for instance you're 23, and you try to hit on a 18-year-old, or even a 17-year-old. You got a little experience, and so you're sort of taking advantage of the situation. Or say for instance, you're 30 years old, and you're hitting on a 25-year-old. It's a little closer, but still, they don't know enough yet. The brain ain't closed up yet. That's just hear me out. This is all I'm saying, right? Now, if you will notice that, remember I told you that the second go around for your sexual energy is from 54 to 63. I think that Shannon Sharp is 54, right? So if this woman that he started out with was 19 at the time, now she's 22, whatever she is, right? Then basically the two sexual energies, right? You're dealing with somebody that's going through the sexual energy or the first time. You're going through the second time. So it's like an interesting thing. I'm not saying right or wrong, but that's just the energy that's there, right? They're exploring and learning things, and you whatever you're doing, right? Okay, just hold, just bear me out on this, right? The same thing happened with Zuma, right? He wasn't wrong. Well, he wasn't wrong for a lot of things, trying to seduce a 27-year-old, even though she's, look, and it was your best friend. You're supposed to be taking care of her, but I don't know. Plus, you have wives. You didn't have to go through all that stuff. But because of that energy, I don't know how old he was. I think he was past whatever. How he was doing that. That it arrests you. You have to pay attention to that energy. Okay. Now, so Shannon Sharp, I noticed when they first came on, when they started talking about it first with the homosexual thing, because he's wearing these tight clothes and he had the man bag over slinged in a certain way and like that. I looked at it, I just said, the boy's just stuck. He's stuck in when he was first being an NFL star. There's this phenomenon that it's called a tie phenomenon. If somebody has a really has a certain kind of tie that came out of a certain era, all it means that's the era. They can be changing everything else, but that's the era that they had the most fun in, that they grew up in, they most identify with, right? Now Shannon Sharp, to make these clothes that shows off his muscles, I mean, he's stuck back when he was an athlete. He's still pressing weights like that. He's stuck. He's still showing off his body. He's stuck in a time period. In a time period when he was famous, and he still talks like all braggadocious, whatever have you. He's stuck. My problem with him is that you have an older brother that you're supposed to idolize. You should have been talking to your older brother, but that's not even a crime. That's not even a problem. In this day and age, any athlete or any kind of celebrity person, anybody, forget them, anybody and everything, there's so much stuff that's been out here, there are books written, constantly on the internet. You see this thing, you shouldn't be falling into any traps. You don't need an older brother to tell you don't do this or don't do that, or beware this or beware that. And Sharp was really terrible because he got it from a younger person, meaning Cat Williams said, hey man, blah, 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 blah. And Monique told him straight up, yo man, you don't need to be doing this. But that's not, and plus he got kids or whatever, he doesn't have children, he has children, whatever have it. To my family, maybe politics to my family, we're tired of hearing that, and nobody listens to that. But here's my takeaway. All this behavior, at some particular point, they're saying that he offered $10 million before this thing blew up to this, well, she's just a plain Jane to me, whatever, to this person, to this woman, to this young girl. She doesn't have a rack. She doesn't have what, I'm sorry. The point is, he offered $10 million to this person for it to go away, for his proclivities, his arrested development, to not snitch on his arrested development, to not snitch on his, acting on his energies, like that, right? If I look at what Sonia says, but how do it free us? How does all this behavior free us? How do it free us? And I say, how does this achieve ultimate liberation for your people? Especially when a lot of times you be talking about your people. The least you can do is just stop talking about your people. Because you can't be talking about you representing this or representing that. And of course, you was representing Disney, and Disney. Look, if Disney can drop you because you represented wrong, then don't you think your people are going to drop you? Just asking. This is the last thing. The problem I have is not even the money, the $10 million. Again, I live in the Eastern Cape of Southern Africa. I'm not asking for money. I don't have money. The little bit of money that I get, I give it all the time. I have to support two households or two, let's call visions, right? About the third one with no money, and I don't want to. My thing, I have to do this without money because it's a whole other thing that I'll have to explain some other time, right? So even if you gave me $10 million or $50,000, I wouldn't. It wouldn't go to me anyway, but it wouldn't work, and I wouldn't ask for it, right? I would know what to do with it, and it wouldn't reflect on me. It would be doing something else. But for $10 million. If you did what Monique said and find yourself what you're supposed to be finding, I'm sure your older brother would say the same thing. Do what you're supposed to do instead of getting these thirst traps, honey traps, whatever traps they call it. That you know better. If you don't know better, it's only because you don't read. You're so busy drinking this on this thing. And having, in fact, you have so many interviews, you don't have time to. I think a lot of times people, especially if you have a daily show or like if you're like these people that have a daily show or weekly show, or just say a daily show, or you have to do things all the time. You don't have time enough to live. So you take these shortcuts. If you're in the gym, you see a booty, you go, oh, hey booty, I ain't got the time, but let's go. When I have a little bit of time, instead of me reading, instead of me looking over my investment portfolio, I'd rather be kicking it with you. That's what she's actually saying. Your time and energy is spent with your proclivity, your misguided, your arrested development proclivity, because you're living in a different era. You missed something along the way. Now you're trying to regain it or relive it or something like that. It's not a good thing. Think $10 million. Look, right now my whole thing is the Sahel brothers. What I call the red beret, the green beret, and the brown beret. Them brothers are uniting Africa, and by extension, we're going to be uniting diaspora. So we always, black people need to unite. And I always say, black people, well, guess what? It's happening right now. I'm not saying you take that $10 million and give it to those brothers, but you could take that $10 million and somehow work it in Africa someplace, supporting a goat herder here, supporting something over there. When I say support, just be discreet about it. You have to say, I'm doing this. There's this the writer, I think it was not Le Carre. One of the writers. I think it's the one that did the Pillars of Earth. The Pillars of that guy. He started a theater thing, and I think in either Mozambique or Zimbabwe. That kind of thing. You don't get, and I wouldn't even do it in your field, not in your sports field. You do it in something else. You're doing something that you have to research, that you have to grow with. Yeah, you can set up a basketball court here, a foundation there, and just deal with sports. But look, I can't tell you what to do with your money, but I can tell you this: if you was trying to give $10 million to a proclivity of yours, it's not right. Let me put it that way. It's not right. So let me leave you here. I had to do this little veer off because I have other things to do, like or whatever. It's like I gotta go. I gotta do my read. I gotta pick. Well, I picked that out already. Oh, I wanted to read the introduction to Tagore, so I can have something. I think I have stuff to do. I gotta read and chill and keep on working on my body. Talk about working on your body, and I don't work out whatever. And I don't work. Don't worry about it. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Be well.